MMA Roadshow, episode number 391. My name is John Morgan, and Cold Coffee is with me on an extremely rare Wednesday afternoon with no UFC media day. And I'm just saying it. Listen, I'm not complaining about the media days that we have. I enjoy talking to the athletes. It's an honor to go
all 20 of them.
to go do the interviews week in and week out. I always say I feel like I'm helping document like these chapters of their life stories and these moments, you know what I mean? That's why I feel like we talk
That's what
to
you
them.
say in the mirror before you get motivated.
Give myself
You're making memories, bro. You're documenting history, and you're special.
That's
Get
what I
in
tell
there.
myself. You go do a good
Go
job,
do it, John Morgan.
No, but
You give yourself the first question.
you
Don't let anybody take it. You get the first question.
Yeah, people ask, how did you start getting the first question? Because I wouldn't let anybody else have
I
it.
manifest it every morning in the mirror before I leave my house.
Oh, man.
No second questions.
Not
no second questions today, son.
Peeling back the curtain a little too far here, guys. No,
Yeah, right.
Looking into my reality. No. But, like I said, I always think it's cool because you talk to these guys and gals, like, right before these big moments in their careers, and then you get to, speak to them immediately after, and you see the aftermath of it. And it's kind of, it's that whole, you're watching like a little movie every week in and out, right? It's this plot line of somebody that has this moment and story in their life. So anyway, what I'm saying is I don't hate doing the media days. I like doing the media days, but I'll tell you what, on the rare one where I can poke my head out of the house around noon, head on over here to the extremely updated, refreshed, top-of-the-line Casa de Cold Coffee number 2. I don't hate it, man. I don't hate it.
It gets bigger every time you say it.
I mean,
every time.
well, you keep adding on to the place
That's
every
true.
time I get here.
The
It feels-
staff just, when I leave the house, I come back, there's a whole new wing on the house.
It's
I'm
incredible. Construction at its
like,
finest.
they're hoping I bring the helicopter pad back, so I'm just like, wait, there's just too much traffic over here. We're right on the flight line.
Would make it a little easier for you to get around. I mean, that long trip to the apex, man. If you could just take a little helicopter.
Up and down, folks, up and down.
How long do you think a helicopter from here to the apex would take? Like 7 seconds?
When you're in the air, it'd probably take longer just to properly just get the lift off. We're good. Okay, we're gonna start. Oh well, we're here. We're gonna come back down. We're gonna come back down. Yeah, it would be insanely.
So it is nice to have a Wednesday afternoon, quote unquote, off. I think both of us are still working in our respective environments, and of course we're sitting down to record the MMA Roadshow, but it's a whole lot different feel to the day than going and banging out 10, 12, 14 interviews, producing all those. And then for me, I'm always trying to rush back.
Soul-sucking interviews. Don't
Just for you. I enjoy them. But I'm always in a rush to make sure I can get back and then take my kid to jiu-jitsu and have dinner and all that stuff. And
that's right, because you don't even put half those together, do you?
No, I just shoot them. With it just being me, to be honest with you, with the underground.
I know there's others that are there that don't even hit record. Names will be named.
There are people that are in there that are not even bothering to shoot. I do shoot and archive just because I feel like what happens if you want a piece of footage from somebody, and right now, since it's just me on the site, you're right, I'm not producing all of it, but I at least want to have it in case I want to go back and be like, wait, I was there that day. I can pull that clip. I can get that little piece of it.
I mean, it's never going to hurt to start building like your video library of stuff. I mean, like even when it comes to like assets that we've seen that we've shot over the years, people will come to Junkie, whether it be USA Today and part of their people, and like, hey, can we use this interview? Do you have this video? Do we have this, And it never hurts. It never hurts to save it. I mean, the biggest thing, and it's gotten cheaper and cheaper every year, is just storage.
Right.
If you have the storage to put it somewhere, whether that's cloud or whether it's the clunky old hard drives that I still have a shitload of. I know you got a shitload of them. Like those will always be around. But yeah, now the cloud-based storage is getting cheaper and cheaper. It's like, why not?
It's funny because, man, the early days of MMA Junkie and UFC Junkie before that, but we didn't save everything. You know what I mean? And it's like I wish we had. And I do have some hard drives that go back to like late WEC days, which wasn't too far into, but we didn't save everything. We saved some things. And I do, like, in retrospect, it's like, why not just save everything? To me, and again, I guess maybe we're the hardest of hardcore talking about this. And of course, this is all video production and site running. I mean, how many people are running a website or running a media outlet? But I would say to anybody that's doing it, like even if you're just doing it like independent, let's say you're just a one person starting up your blog or whatever, save everything you shoot, because you never know what it might be. I mean, what if it does turn out to be Conor McGregor's first interview, or what if it does turn out to be whatever? And you know, that stuff can actually be worth money if somebody's putting something together. But if nothing else, it just gives you like some really cool, unique content options that nobody else has license of. You know?
And you see your growth as well, especially depending on whatever your art form. You know, whether we're talking here, you know, video, you know. You save your old audio, save your old photos. Say you're a photographer, you know, like go back and look at your old shit.
Oh,
you know? Like you never know what you might want to look back on, but even just being able to see your growth. But you're right. I mean, like, it's not like we're saying, hey, save everything, just because you could make money off it.
Yeah, it's gonna make you rich one day.
Yeah, posterity's sake. I mean, like that moment in time only happened right then, and if you're there to document it, why not keep it and keep it as a part of the history? I mean, like, I imagine the Library of Congress has a whole lot of random shit in there that somebody at some point was like, I'm going to save this, and then somebody else assigns value to it. You just never know what's going to be worth something to somebody at some point.
It's funny. I guess I got started in this game so long ago. It was, you know, things have changed a lot, but I feel like very few people consider that a role of journalism anymore, documenting history. And I still feel like that's part of it. You know what I mean?
Because
like,
it turned what you think now more either not opinion, but a lot of
it's just social media interaction and opinion,
trying to push a directive.
Yeah, it's not there's very few people I think concerned really with documenting the history of events of moment. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. It just feels like it's about everybody being a personality and everybody.
I think you hit it right there because now, especially in the day of social, it's like I'm here at UFC 284, but you just said I'm here. You know, instead of just saying fighter this did this, you already are putting it through your own lens, and then you're trying to make that lens connect with somebody else. So then they're like, oh, I want to see that through this person's eyes, so I'm going to start following them instead of just documenting it as
what, when, why, where, how.
Yeah, there you go.
You know what I mean? Like whatever happened to that? Like just like literally documenting facts. Like that just doesn't happen anymore.
That's true. But it's funny you brought up like how you guys didn't used to save shit. That's I remember one of the things that I had already saved stuff when I. Since I had been shooting, and definitely especially since I was like at the UFC, tried saving stuff, but granted, all that stuff's on their servers, not my own shit.
To be clear, he meant he saved it for the company, not for himself. All right, Zuffa lawyers, don't. Hey, he didn't mean he
and
was.
I know
saving
they're listening.
Hey.
They're always listening. They're waiting for us to bring other staffers on.
They have been shown to listen once or twice over the course of this podcast. Let me be clear, he was saving it on your drives.
But I mean, like, that's one of the things I was like, man, I wish, because I know you guys were at, like, the early on events. I was like, man, I wish they were shooting.
Yeah.
But even the stuff that you guys were trying to do has come so far over the years. The technology, the stuff was used. I mean, for a lot of times, people were just using whatever phone cameras they could have or whatever other little cameras, and it wasn't great. But that was one of the things I was always happy about as time moved on, was that we made a point to document, because I don't know if others are doing it, but I know that we did.
Yeah.
Once we made a concerted effort to say, we're saving shit. We're saving everything we shoot is going to be saved somewhere so somebody can go back, because you never know, And I feel like that's part of the job of, like what you said, like documenting history, document it happened. There's no, hey, if you want to hear about this moment, go back to my Instagram account and see how I thought of it.
Right.
Here's the raw moment of what happened, and then nothing's changed. It's not edited. It's raw. Here it is as it happened. No context off to the side being added to it. And there's something great about that. And that now a lot of people just say, oh, well, go look at my YouTube, go look at my finished thing. And it's like, well, that's already been the touch. Unless it's like some of the stuff that we do, we put a full archive interview. A lot of times you're only seeing the cut, and then some people are always like, oh, why'd you only put this part out? That's why we've always been good about putting the full thing out, because that's part of what we're talking about, documenting the moment and not trying to put too much of yourself into it. It doesn't need to be about the shooter at that time or whatever. It's just document that thing. And like you said, you never know what it's going to be worth somebody.
It's funny. So I was going to bring up Jose Aldo, but this is perfect because it actually reminds me that, Jose Aldo walking away, we found that after I sat down and did the and-a-half episode this past week. Not necessarily a surprise, I wouldn't say. Of course, Merab Dvalishvili had said he heard, that Jose had told him that's going to be it for me. We had heard Andre Pedro saying, hey, I kind of think that should be it. And I think we had all talked about the fact that, man, even in that fight with Merab, the skills were still there, but not quite. And the other thing is just that it took him so far down the ladder that Aldo was going to have a long way back up to the top. So not the most shocking. It is kind of weird that it was just kind of a little footnote,
Yeah, not even like in its own fight, just like sort of just dropped off.
Yeah,
to the side.
just so that was a little bit wild. But it did start making me think about it because, obviously we've seen a lot of these retirements lately. The Cowboy Cerrone one was one that was near and dear to my heart. But the Jose Aldo one is near and dear to my heart as well because, obviously started covering him in the WC. And as we're talking about, I wish, I don't even think at this time. So when he won, the first time I remember interviewing Jose Aldo is, I moved to Las Vegas in late 2008. I was not at the San Diego event where he fought Rolando Perez. I did not go to Corpus Christi for the Chris Mickle fight. I remember, I don't even think I did the Sacramento fight. Because I don't think we traveled to cover WC early on. It was still too small. I think we covered WC when it was in Vegas. So the first time I remember, although I kind of remember being at the Cub Swanson fight. I can't remember if I was there or not. I think I was, but I don't remember interviewing. But I do remember, you know what? I think I was at the Sacramento fight. But what I don't, but the first time I really remember an in-depth interview with Jose Aldo was ahead of the Mike Brown fight, and it was at the Palms. And I remember, it was me. I think it was Adam Hill and Steve Cofield, if I remember correctly, a couple old school names, obviously still in the sports media landscape, but not as much in mixed martial arts anymore. We're interviewing them. I remember Steve Cofield asking him about the scar on his face and where that came from, and I remember talking to Jose, this wide-eyed kid about. He was still so young at the time, about coming in and name on the marquee in Las Vegas and all this, and that's when I remember, because I didn't know a ton about his background, but I remember that's when Wagner Fabiano told me the story about do you know exactly where he came from? And I was like, not really. I know he came from the favelas and stuff. They're like, bro, he didn't have enough money to buy rice in between training sessions. He would show up for the morning practice, and then we would ask him hey, did you eat? And he's like, yeah, I ate. And you're like, did you really eat? And he'd be like, no, I didn't. And they'd have to buy him some rice and beans, dude. You know what I mean? That kind of stuff. And seeing that early on, and so it just made me I wish we'd have been shooting back then. And I think at the time Dan and I were
gold.
we were really you saw that clip that was making its way around about when he was going to buy the suit for the first time, and it's been kind of recirculating lately. But yeah, man, just to have that Jose Aldo, and I tweeted about this, and it's funny talking about social media and commenting stuff I probably should use my social media more, but I don't know, man. It feels weird to me. Let me tell you my opinion on this. I'm I don't know.
But for opinions, that's what it's for.
I know
that makes a lot of sense.
But I feel weird.
Yeah.
But anyway, I tweeted about when I read that on Sunday, and I tweeted I think the one thing I tweeted was it is very rare to reach the type of universal love and respect and admiration that Jose Aldo has, on the roster, but behind, what fans think of him. I don't know how you could not be a Jose Aldo fan, but there are so few fighters that are so universally respected and admired we would see it week in and week out, right? A Jose Aldo fight week means everybody on the card, if they see Jose Aldo, is gonna be bro, can I take a picture? These are theoretically his peers, but they're looking at him as such a high level, you know what I mean? That that's not my peer. I got to take a picture with Jose Aldo, and you just don't see that, man. And to think of what he accomplished, and it's pretty crazy, man. It was kind of funny. I was talking to Nicholas Mata the other day, who came through CFFC, of course, and got his first UFC win. And I was asking him, because he started out in Novo and Yao, and I was asking him what he thought about Jose Aldo, and he was talking about just what a genius he was and how he's kind of ahead of the time or whatever. And then he started laughing. He's like, and that dude made a lot of money, man. I was like, he can buy some rice now, huh? He's like, he can buy some rice companies at this point, But I don't know, man. Jose Aldo is one that. Sad to see walk away. I will say I think it's so cool because we touched upon it, how much respect he got in Salt Lake City from the crowd. That just seems like a random audience to give a Brazilian the type of love and admiration they give. So I think it's cool that he got to go out on that. And I'm assuming somebody will figure this out. I can't imagine this will go overlooked, especially since you still got Big Nog involved, and hopefully somebody – that January event in Rio, they got to do something, right? Do you play?
You mean on the broadcast?
On the broad, you got to play his music and let him walk in and give. It is kind of because
he's got to be in the crowd at least, and then do something. Maybe they'll bring him out to do some commentary off to the side or put him on a channel.
I think it would be at least cool. I mean, it's different circumstances, but I think about like
that's when they nominate him for the Hall of Fame. They say about how he's going to go into the
what?
Hall of Fame or something.
Perfect.
That'd be
perfect.
That's
a perfect
easy one.
I was just thinking about you're dead on there. I was just thinking about like remember we were in St. Louis because it was the infamous Kamaru Usman 30% night, but they did the walkout for Matt Hughes. Now, granted, different circumstances. We know where Matt Hughes, what had happened. That was more of like a honoring his life and hey, glad you're still with us and all that. But I was thinking about this today, right? So Jose Aldo. I mean, look, there has to be something done at that January Rio event, and I was just thinking, walkout honor, but I think you hit the nail on the head right there. You go ahead and put him in the Hall of Fame right away. That dude don't have to wait.
How are you going to argue about
that? That dude goes in. But, it was funny because originally I was thinking, well, we know he has one fight left on his contract. Why wouldn't you give him one more fight? But, I started thinking about it. Boy, this sport, it's not a send-off basketball game or a send-off soccer game. You know what I mean? We're like, oh, wouldn't you give him one more in front of his hometown? You know what? You're probably doing the better thing by not giving him one more fight in front of his hometown, but give him one more, give him honors in front of his hometown.
Yeah, because you figure, like, Merab, I mean, he's a guy that's, like the level of competition, to have him go back down the line for his last fight, you'd rather be against something where it was like, still vying, still showing towards the top, all that other kind of stuff. It's funny, we were talking about video and how we archive stuff. Over the years, man, being able to, especially while I was still UFC, all the stuff in Brazil and behind the scenes that I shot of Jose, that would be so cool if I could go back and see.
But we don't have it on our hard drives, to be clear.
That is on the UFC servers. But when you said about him making a suit, remind me of one of the times when he came in, because I know he wasn't fighting, but he came in and he had a meeting with Dana. They must have been working on a contract or something. But one of the things that he wanted to do before he headed back out to the airport, he's like, is there a toy store? Because he wanted to buy a toy for his kid. And so I followed him to Toys R Us, which I don't even think exists in Vegas anymore.
I don't think it does. I think it's gone.
And so we went through this Toys R Us so he could pick out a toy and stuff. And it was kind of cool to see him go through here. And then just sort of had him chatting and then got in the car and then went back to the thing. I remember just thinking, I completely forgot about it, but I remember at the time I was like, this is awesome. And I don't even know what they did. I think we maybe put something on .com. Or maybe that was like the early Fight Pass days where half of that crap doesn't even exist anymore, or you'd have to really, really search deep into it.
What a great story.
But that's that stuff. I mean, there was so much shit that was shot over the years that, at the time we documented and we saved it onto their servers, the UFC servers, that they never even did, because at that time Fight Pass wasn't even a thing, you know, because a lot of stuff was before Fight Pass. We were documenting stuff for the UFC. Every once in a while, maybe something, a little glimpse got on the broadcast, but for a lot of it, it was just documenting for the sake of documenting. But I know that there's a ton of stuff there that if they actually took the time to go back and look, but they probably don't even know that it exists. They don't even have, because those people are gone. Everybody's gone.
Yeah.
Like most of the people that were, everybody outside of maybe one person or two from when my group was still there is still part of like that group.
And that's and this is again kind of a maybe inside baseball type thing, but still an interesting thought process is that if that stuff's not meticulously labeled the way it's stored, like you're never going to find it. If you don't know it exists, nobody's ever going to go look through it.
Like if they said, oh hey, go back to UFC 179, they probably did like an open workout on the beach. Let's see if there's footage from the beach when they did.
Yeah.
So that's crazy. But yeah, man,
amazing.
So many great fights with that cat. But man, you're right. It's funny, out of all that stuff, I know I shot a bunch of other stuff, but that trip to the toy store to buy something for his kid,
that's amazing.
I can remember it clear as day.
Amazing. You talk about the King of Rio, obviously the nickname that kind of came up. And did John Anik come up with that? He might. I feel like Anik was the one that coined that. I may be wrong, because that was not like an official. He was Scarface, of course, but I really think Anik might have been the one that coined that. But it fits so well because I remember the story as well about essentially his management team and the people around him made him move out of his neighborhood because he was starting to get so popular and famous.
Yeah.
But he was such a I just want to sit out front of my house with my flip-flops and my shorts on and no shirt. Like, this is my neighborhood. This is where I grew up. How many times have we sat in a plastic chair on the beach in Brazil?
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
he wasn't putting any frosty beverages down the way we were.
And we didn't have people in front of us trying to take our picture.
No, but that's just who he was. He's like, this is my neighborhood. This is where
Yeah.
I grew up. Like, this is where I'll stay. And they were like, bro, like, you can't. Like, you had just for your own safety and security, like, you got to get out of there. And he kind of, from what I was told, kind of fought him on it. He's like, nah, bro, this is where I am. Like, and finally they explained to him, like, bro, no,
it's only going to get worse.
It's going to get worse. But I mean, just
probably felt safe as could be because everybody knew everybody. Most of those people in the favelas, they grow up in those houses, so everybody knows everybody. But yeah, once somebody makes good, everybody tends to want to probably get part of that.
Got to be careful. But what a legend, a true legend. As I said, I don't think legend goes to describe. And we're just talking about the person. Now we're not even talking about the fights. I mean, obviously the fights with Chad Mendes, the Uriah Faber fight. I mean, there were so many moments over the years that were incredible. I'll forever hate the fact that there's a legion of fans who only know Aldo from or began their knowledge of Aldo by him getting starched by Conor McGregor, because I'll stand by it, and I mean no disrespect to Conor McGregor whatsoever, but like I think if they fought 100 times, like that only happens once.
Yeah, I mean it's not often I ever feel sad for a fighter because of an outcome. There's some that are just like, oh man, yeah, that really fucking sucks. Like every time Derek Lewis loses, I'm like, damn, that sucks. But I don't feel like I'm not holding on to one of those. But I felt so bad for Aldo because that build-up and knowing how much that would have meant for him and how much he put into it. That one I still feel like, fuck, that one, that sucks. That hurts. That still, I still feel bad for him on that one because you're right. I mean, that was his chance, and there was so much build-up for that. And we wanted that fight to be so much. It took so long to get there, and the whole build-up, and the UFC put so much promotional wing behind it. Some of the coolest, like, little promos that they made. Of those two, like they did that one where they were like walking down the streets of Vegas or something, and whatever. It was just so incredible that I was just so hyped up, and then for it to end like that, you're just like, I felt like I was so heartbroken for him and his family and for the country just for what. But on the flip side, there was a whole other country that became so invigorated with the sport after that. I mean,
skyrocket.
Ireland loved it.
Skyrocket.
It was like there was nothing better for them, I mean, they just needed that moment to just sort of light the flame, and there it was. It's like they didn't want to just take part; they wanted to take over.
Oh, that is brilliant, man! You got to write that down.
Write that down.
You got to write that down. That's
I should. I'm going to use that. I just got to figure when I can use it best.
That's funny. We'll miss Jose Aldo. Listen, and I think, look, there could have been some more fights. You could have put the Dominic Cruz fight together. I mean, there were still fights available for him, but that just goes to show the kind of guy.
On that one?
Oh, bro, I don't know, man. I don't know. I think maybe Aldo.
I think I would have taken
Aldo.
Aldo. Yeah.
I think Aldo.
I think so. He just seems sort of out of. I don't know. I don't want to take too, because Merab has a way of doing what Merab does, but Jose just never got started. I just felt like he was so out of place. But like, Dom's not going to try to do that. But maybe Dom would try to employ like wrestling and get him against cage and do some stuff. Not that he ever does with anybody else, but maybe that would be the one. That would be the one.
Well, like I said, there were fights to make, but I think that just goes to show you Aldo's mindset that he, it wasn't for him. It wasn't let's go out and have some fun fights. It's like no, we're working towards a championship, or we're not doing anything else, man.
I mean, he's got enough, I'm sure, irons in the fire doing other stuff after this point. So, and he's already qualified and should get the Hall of Fame nod.
I think
he
you're right.
Doesn't need to add anything else.
I think that. Well, look, he's a surefire Hall of Famer, but I think doing it in January in Rio,
that would be cool.
That would be amazing. Announce him there, let him get that honor. That's perfect timing. Hopefully, the UFC is on the same page. All right, listen, no UFC this week, but we did do Dana White's Contender Series last night. Normally, we don't spend a lot of time talking about Dana White's Contender Series, but got to talk about this Raul Rosas Jr. right? Because I don't know if you saw this, but there is a teenage. I don't know if it's kind of slipped under the radar, but the UFC actually signed a 17-year-old kid last night, and I'm still kind of processing it because, look, we knew the hype going in. Obviously, he'd spent some time training here, so we know a lot of people that spent time in the gym with him, and so we knew the name. We've seen the fights. We knew what he was capable of. It was the first time I was seeing him compete in person, and I will say, the dude is legit, man. He's 100% legit.
Yeah.
Like what we saw there in terms of, strength for a 17-year-old, off the charts. creativity and knowledge of grappling off the charts.
Yeah.
Aggression off the charts.
Confidence
Confidence off the charts for anybody at any age.
Yeah.
And maybe that's one of the beautiful things about being young, right? Is you're too young to know what you don't know.
But also, he probably recognizes those skills. He sees what he does to grown-ass men. Like his ground game and his transitions were just so fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
And every time he would get on his back, somehow he was able to reverse it, and he was on top in moments. I mean, when you have it to the point where the opposing team's corner is just like, dude, don't try to take his back. Don't try to do a submission. Stand up.
That is the
strike.
I mean, honestly, the most dominant position. Now, some people may say mount or whatever, but to me,
Yeah.
the most dominant position in grappling is on the back because there's so little that the person in front can do other than try to get out. And yet your corner's saying, do not take his back.
So ridiculous.
That's crazy.
Dude, when you look at his size, too, I mean, like, this kid, I mean, while he's fighting right now at bantamweight, I mean, like,
he looks thick.
He's going to get big.
Especially at 17.
No credit. By the time by the time you hear this, he's going to be 18. Because by the time he fights in the UFC, he's going to be 18. And this whole talk of, part of it, too, because I almost wanted to bring it up to Dana. I was like, but it's not even a big deal. By the time that this first fight happens, they're not going to have to do the extra commission shit.
Correct.
They're not going to have mom and dad sign letters. They interviewed so many people. They reached out. I know Nixick was on record for it. I know Dana had to say a little something. I'm sure like manager said something, and they had other fighters say something. All that doesn't have to happen for the next one. It's going to be so much easier. But this kid is going to grow into his body, and that being said, he was a pound under, so he's obviously doing well when it comes to his weight and all that other stuff, but his sheer size, his frame, you could tell he could easily pack a lot more muscle onto that frame already currently. It's almost like he's probably just holding off of that, like maybe never does weight training, just does jiu-jitsu and other stuff, because once he starts adding muscle, it's going to be really hard to keep going down with that frame because it's just natural. I mean, like, he hasn't even started touching his, like, man strength yet, which is what is crazy because at 17, this kid, what he was able to do to a 25-year-old that we saw in front of us that was jacked, that it just made it look ridiculous. And this guy was good, you know?
All right, so I agree wholeheartedly with everything you're saying, and I can't say it. Now, I will say this: we haven't gotten to see his striking yet, and if you hear like that, may be the most area of concern. Where certainly he's a wizard on the ground, but we haven't seen a whole lot throughout his career of a striking
back
game.
kick thing that he did.
That was nice. The misleaping knee into the takedown to blend it all. I mean, so maybe there is no reason for concern. But I will say this though: last night. We go back to that press room every Tuesday night when it's Tuesday Night Contender Series, and everybody kind of looks at each other. But right before, everybody gathers together before Dana makes his announcement. It's like, what, 3, 4, 5? What are we doing?
Yep.
And I said 4. I was like, we're doing everybody but the kid. I'm like, he's just too damn young. And sure enough, Dana, no hesitation. I mean, literally no hesitation whatsoever. And then came back and continued to stand by it. And now I'm wondering, because it's weird to me because I don't question the kid's skills. I don't. They're there. But I do wonder, like, is this too early? Like, because they throw up those other names of here's where the youngest and we have people get burned out, man. Yep. People get you can't. And again, and I don't mean this as disrespect to any other organization out there, but and I even said it last night in the scrums. Look, those the other organizations out there in the world, they had the ability to kind of really slow roll, pick and choose, whatever you want to say, right? Like how many promotional newcomers do you bring in to face guys making their way up the ladder in Bellator? And I don't think that's a bad thing. Like, you're bringing their skills along. He is not going to have that luxury. And I know he's, 7-0 at this point, so it's not like he's 0-0, brand new. But I don't know, man. I know Dana was saying, this kid's special, this kid's that. And he is. But I don't know, is he so special that at 17 he can handle the rigors and grow up in front of everybody?
Everybody said the same thing about Sage Northcutt.
Right.
And like, where's Sage at?
Right.
He hasn't fought since I just pulled up 2019.
Yes. That's what I'm worried about, man. Like, okay, great. He's in at 17. At 22, is he just like, and look, if 22, if he's come in, won the world title, defended it 3 times, and retired at 22 because he's made millions and he wants to be, I mean, good for him. So I'm not saying, I'm just, it's so weird. In a lot of ways in my head, it kind of sounds like when I talk about like Francis Ngannou going to box, right? Like, far be it from me to say like you shouldn't get to go do what you want to do, but I'm also a little bit concerned for how competitive you're going to be and how and this is different. Look, the biggest paychecks he's going to make, obviously the biggest sponsorships, the biggest all those opportunities are going to come in the UFC, but I just worry, like, again, because they can't delicately matchmake him in the UFC. Everybody in the UFC, and I know people will say, well, UFC levels. You can.
They could easily give him like another contender guy that just recently went through, possibly. But man, if he's able to stay at you brought up 22, he says by that time he's already going to be a champ. He says by the time he's 20, he's going to be a champ. If he can maintain and stay in bantamweight as his body's grown at that point and as his skill set, I mean, it's hard to not imagine that he would just be destroying the group. But you're right. I mean, to go that many fights, as much as this kid wants to fight, it seems like this is all he does, eat and breathe. That many more years of that high level, at some point maybe his body could even give out. You know, you don't want to, like you said, push it. You almost want to kind of slow roll it, but I don't know if this kid can let anybody talk him into that. His belief in himself, but also having that skill set. I mean, like, you just went in and tested yourself on another guy that easily deserves to be in the UFC, like without a doubt. Shoot, why not jump in? You know, I mean, he could still take a couple fights before he ever even starts touching top 15 caliber guys.
I mean, it's interesting, right? Like, so take the Shawn O'Malley path, right? Because Shawn O'Malley was the one that, I guess, if you want to say somebody got that slow, and he played into it, right? The unranked champion, and, you know, I don't want to get, you know, move up. But, you know, I look at it, and it's funny because I just said 22 years old. So Shawn O'Malley made his UFC debut in December 2017. So obviously he's right at 5 years as well, and now he's fighting essentially what's a number 1 contender fight against Peter Yan. But here's the run. Terrion Ware. Now, some of this is going to sound different because you're talking about 2017 era when you start out. But Terrion Ware, Andre Sukumtath, Jose Alberto Quinones, Eddie Wineland, Chito Vera, Thomas Almeida, Cris Moutinho, Raulian Paiva, Pedro Munoz. That's a stiff run, man.
That's a hell of a list.
For a 17-year-old. Now, maybe for Shawn O'Malley. Now, at the time, Shawn O'Malley was like, "Oh, they're you know, why don't they give him a real test?" But I don't know, man. Like,
those are good.
A 17-year-old going against all those names, and I guess, you know, at some point he's an 18-year-old, and then he's a 19-year-old, and then he's a 20-year-old. But I don't know. I'm just in this weird spot. I don't know how to feel about this because the kid's skills are legit.
Yeah.
But I'm just a little worried for him.
And I just hope his body. I mean, like, if he doesn't give himself his body a chance to rest and still continue growing, I mean, who knows what he could be doing? I mean, I know they said the same thing about kids. You know, if you start them weightlifting too hard, too early, you know, they can stunt their growth and things start happening. Don't forget, too, like Shawn at the beginning when we're kind of sort of in the middle run at the beginning, hurt his leg, hurt his ankle, and if you started wondering, is his body breaking down? Did he maybe do too much going into this? Since then, we don't seem to see those same issues. So I think the time away and, you know, proper care has worked out. But, I mean, the kid can overdo it. I mean, if somebody doesn't stop the kid from overdoing it, one, you run the risk of, you know, getting too high too fast, getting the guy that knocks you down, and then you lose a little bit of that hype. But what would be worse is he overworks his body to the point where his body breaks down prematurely. Instead of having a really long career, it might be shortened because he's pushing himself too hard and he starts hurting his body early before he's had a chance to really even fully grow into his body.
I think that's where I'm at. Now, again, but then, like I said, the flip side is, let's say his body breaks down at 24, but he's a multimillionaire and, you know, a world champion.
Good.
Yeah, you know what I mean? You're like, hey, so what? I had to retire at 24. Now I just do jiu-jitsu and,
I'm permanently disabled, but I'm rich, bitch.
Yeah, so I don't know. So
you're right. It's a catch-22.
I will certainly be following the story, but and I guess, look, I guess, you know, in the world of sports opinions, you can't ride the fence. You got to say either that guy's the greatest thing that's ever happened or he's never going to win a fight in the UFC. I don't feel like I know that yet. I feel like the kid literally has skills. I feel like, look,
I will say he's the best 17-year-old I've ever seen.
I would agree.
In MMA.
I would 100% agree with that.
Hands down.
And still scares me.
Yeah.
So
it's true. But you're right. But, man,
hey,
it's not like they just said, hey, look at this shiny new toy. Trust us, he's good. Like, we saw it.
That's a good point.
We saw the legit skills, and it's just like, okay.
This is not the we saw a guy on looking for a fight, and we showed you 30 seconds of him, and just trust us.
Trust me.
He's amazing.
And to think how many times we've seen Dana and Shawn. Granted, I didn't get to look at what Shawn's and Mick's reaction, but for them to all, Dana's not. I mean, Dana will blow a little hot air up our ass, but for them to say as soon as they went back, there wasn't even a discussion. They were so blown away. That's something.
It's true.
These guys have seen thousands upon thousands upon thousands, and I know we were blown away by his performance. Right. For them to do it, I mean, I got to trust that they know something or see something that even beyond, because they've seen so many guys. But, dude, I can't fault I'm with you. I don't want the kid to burn himself out and hurt himself prematurely, but in terms of, am I worried, is his skill level, is he going to go in there and is he going to get hurt because he's not ready to be there? I don't feel that.
Right.
At least not for where they're going to start him at.
Right.
You know, but give him 2 or 3 fights, he's going to be fighting top 15 guys if he keeps doing that performance.
Imagine if you're like 19 years old fighting top 15 dudes
it's
or
crazy.
Something like
that. This kid could do it. If he gets 3 fights in his 18th year, easily 19 could be starting.
Unbelievable.
And that's probably where he sees in his head and why he says he's going to give himself from 19 to 20 to where he's getting into the top 5, and 20 he'll be competing for the title. That's what he sees in his head. It's got to be.
Unbelievable.
You know?
It's a cool story. Yeah. Obviously, we got Bo Nickel in the final Dana White's Contender Series for this run.
You think Bo's mad?
No. Bo's getting paid, dude. Like, it's so funny. Like,
he's got that developmental deal, whatever that is.
All the people that are enraged.
You think he got a house like Joe Piper?
Yeah. All the people that are enraged by everybody I heard behind the scenes. Everybody's like, trust me, Bo Nickel's doing just fine. Bo Nickel just fine where he's at. I'm sure Bo's just sitting back there. Hey, you guys complain for me all you want. Yeah. I am good. I am anxious to see that. By the way, Bo Nickel facing Donovan Beard, CFFC track record there. Donovan's got a stiff challenge ahead of him, but he doesn't care. In fact, he actually asked for the fight with Bo Nickel, which I found just ballsy as all get out. And I will say it was funny too. If you want to
stealing somebody's hype, right?
Exactly right. If you want to check it, it's a funny moment. I've had a couple people that watch the interview reach out, but if you want to see the interview, it's on the MMA Underground channel. But when I set up the interview with Donovan, because obviously I had spoken to Donovan before for the CFFC, but when we set up this interview, it was set up through his management team because he was taking this opportunity, right? And about as we were kind of wrapping up the interview, he put 2 and 2 together. He's like, "You're that dude that called my fight, right?" And I'm like, "Yes, I'm that dude." He was like, "So you're gonna be there at the Apex?" I'm like, "I'll be there, bro." He's like, "Yes, that's awesome, man." He's like, "At least hilarious. I know I'll have one person cheering for me in there." So
he's like, "This whole time I was like, this guy looks familiar, but no, I'm just probably crazy. I'm just gonna leave."
It's a pretty funny moment because you can see he's actually realizing it in real time, and you can see the moment on his face. So it's pretty funny. So that'll be the final one next week.
The voice didn't give it away right from the get-go.
I guess not.
That is, it's funny. Just to give you something where you can humble brag about. It is funny when I see some of the Contender guys. They'll look back, and when they look up and they'll see it, and you start asking the question, right. You kind of see him like do that little smile, like, "This is real. Oh my God, it's that dude." Who was it that said? Oh no, that was Farid Basharat. When he came back, he's like, "Who's got the first question?" John Morgan.
Yeah, that was pretty funny. Farid Basharat. That was good, man. That was good. All right, listen. Like I said, no UFC this weekend, but we do have Bellator in action this weekend, and you know what? I think this is why I'm so excited about this weekend. This weekend came together perfectly, right? Because, if you're going to have – we're happy to have a different Wednesday. We're not complaining, but it's nice to have a nice Wednesday. We know that our Saturday is free. But let's say Bellator had come in with like a Saturday night show. Then the fact that we don't have UFC really doesn't change anything, right? But then you go, okay, well, yeah, but Bellator had a Friday night show, so it still kind of impacts your weekend. It's like, nah, bro. Bellator has a Friday show from Europe, which means that – the main card for Bellator 285 starts at 1 p.m. Pacific time on Friday afternoon,
nice.
4 p.m. Eastern. So, I I can soak in Bellator on Friday afternoon
And have all day Saturday.
and have all day Saturday to chill. I'm looking forward to it.
That's nice.
It doesn't happen very often, a rare Saturday
No.
off with the family, so I'm looking forward to it. Benson Henderson versus Peter Queally in the main event. Yoel Romero versus Melvin Manhoff. That's crazy in the co-main event. Not quite as loaded as the Bellator 286 card is. We'll probably talk about that one next week. I'm actually still trying to figure out if I might go down to Long Beach next week. I'm still trying to figure it out.
Well, look at
yeah,
you.
hey, the Bellator card next week. I'm just going to tell everybody right now. Take a peek next week. The Bellator card next week's about as loaded as it gets. But let's do this.
I can't remember.
We'll talk quick about Bellator 285, but first I want to play. This is the MMA Roadshow exclusive.
Whoa.
You know, a lot of times we'll take some interviews that
Sorry,
we've done.
folks, we're taking this over to Patreon.
This is an exclusive, and I didn't mean to do it as an exclusive. See, here's the thing: is I'm trying to figure out how best to use our content, where to put it everywhere, and utilize as much as I can. But we're supposed to do a video interview with Benson Henderson, and then he, at the last second, he was like,
"Oh, that's right.
Can we do audio only?" And I was like, I mean, we can. I don't know what.
Are you naked?
I'm like, yeah. Like,
what's the deal, bro?
What's going on? But so we switched over to audio only. But because of that, this interview has not been released anywhere. So it is a MMA Roadshow exclusive interview. John Morgan, Benson Henderson, another former WEC star. I wish I had known about Jose Aldo. We did this earlier in the weekend, so I didn't have Jose Aldo's retirement. Definitely would have gotten his thoughts on that as well. Obviously, their career paths intertwined for quite some time. But here is Smooth previewing his Bellator 285 main event with Peter Queally. All right, we are with the legend Benson Henderson. Benson, you had the hard-fought win the last time we saw you back in January over a very, very tough opponent in Islamabadov. I guess just how important was that for you, man? I mean, I know you'd had a couple setbacks. Was that a big one for you?
Oh yeah, it should be. They're all big ones for you. Whether it's your pro debut, your amateur debut, first time on the main card, first time for the UFC, first time for Bellator, first time this, first time that. They should all be big ones, you know. First time on a losing streak. You lost 2 in a row. You lost 3 in a row. First time this, first time that. It doesn't necessarily matter like which, kind of extras you want to add to it. They're all big. They're all important. They're all life or death. Like we only get so many chances at this, so you should treat it as such. That they're all very, very big deals.
I love that attitude, man. I knew that was the type of competitor you are because I wondered. I mean, here you are, former UFC champ, former WC champ, nothing to prove in the world. But you start dealing with those setbacks. It's gotta bother you a little bit, right? You're not used to having to have losses.
Yeah, definitely not something I ever want to get used to. But you got to take the good with the bad. You got to not allow those losses to deter you and make you too sad and this and that and change who you are. But you got to know as a competitor, man, that's a part of the process that goes with the with the game. That's a part of the game. You're gonna win some, you're gonna lose some. Hopefully, you win a lot more than you lose. But if every time you lose, you pack up and call it quits, that's not the mark of a real champion right there.
Well said. Benson, I know what a competitor you are, man. 16 years in the game, and you got to the highest level of the sport so early. So, I mean, it's been like 13 years at the highest level of the sport. I mean, is it ever exhausting? I mean, this is such a difficult game mentally as well as physically, or is this something that you're still really, truly, like, passionate about and still love?
For me, yes. It's actually the passionate part, the desire to compete, the desire to lay it all on the line and go get my hand raised. That's the easy part. The hard part can be the all the extra incentives, the this, the that, the media obligations.
I was gonna say the interview.
Like it's not bad. If you want to be a champion, if you want to be at that level, it's something you have to deal with. But that's the hard stuff. The hard stuff is not, for me personally. The hard stuff is not fighting. That's easy. Like being a competitor, like let's go compete, let's go do it, no problem, easy. Any day, anytime, no problem. But the setup for it, the interviews, okay, now we're gonna do a photo shoot, we're gonna do videos, and we need you to take time off. We need you to take time away from the kids and go do this and go do that. Oh, we need you to come over here. That can be the real trial, the real hard part. like anything, like almost like any job. It's not the job itself can be easy, but it's the things you have to do like for the job, around the job, not necessarily the job itself. The job itself, fighting, easy, no problem, all day long. All the other stuff behind fighting that you have to do, that can be a little bit of a trial. That can be a little bit of a like the politics for some of the people. That can be the real trial there.
Yeah, it's the part that people don't see. So let me ask you about the preparation, man. I mean, obviously the MMA lab, such a key figure there. I talked to Mike Hamill earlier today. Obviously, he's getting ready for a big fight as well. And he said, listen, it's a room full of killers, but when Benson is in the room, it's a little bit different because everybody's got just such respect for him, and he's such a driven competitor. I mean, I guess how important is that, or how much do you take on that role of like being a leader in that room and kind of setting the example for all these room full of killers that you guys have?
Uh, I think it's kind of a little bit established now, for sure. That's just how our room is. Our room is a tough, hard-edged room. We practice hard. We throw down hard. We don't hit hard to the body, or we're gonna drop you. We don't hit hard to the head, but we're gonna drop you some body shots. We're gonna drop you some leg kicks. We're gonna hit some leg kicks until you learn how to check them. We're hitting leg kicks until we drop you. We're hitting body shots, hard body shots until we drop you. We're not gonna hit each other head. We're not gonna give you concussions, but we're gonna help each other. We're gonna help grow each other. And make that room the toughest room in the entire world. That practice right there on any given day, Monday through Saturday, is the toughest room in the world. And we got youngsters on the team. Man, we got youngsters that give it to me in just pure stand-up wise. If it was just a kickboxing match, we got youngsters there who give me everything I can handle and then some. We got youngsters in the room who are, when it comes just to wrestling, they can give it to me just pure wrestling wise. They put a single on, they come after me and they go get me. I'm like, woo! I gotta buckle up. I gotta bring it. And that's how our room is. And we help turn those guys, develop them into full MMA artists. Um, but yeah, it's a tough room. It's a tough room, and I know when I am in the room. Um, you're either going to match my intensity or you're going to get hurt and you're going to be out the room pretty soon. So that's just the way it kind of goes for our room.
I love that, man. As long as you've been in the game, still setting the tone like that. All right, so we know you're back in action Friday, September 23rd, Dublin, Ireland, Bellator 285. Personally, I love these shows, right? Because when they're over in Europe, that means they air early here in the United States. I can watch a great fight on the middle of the afternoon, but I'm also not the one having to travel across the ocean to get there. So what was your take, Benson? Like, are you excited to go over to Dublin, or was it kind of like, oh, man, my last two were in Phoenix. I kind of like that a little bit better.
Oh, man, Phoenix is nice for sure. Being in your hometown, I love that. The ease of it, the convenience of it. But at the same time, pros and cons, everything, right? You're in the hometown, the convenience, the ease of it. But at the same time, you have 300 people asking for tickets. Like, oh, hold on, let me. I gotta make a couple phone calls. Hold on, I got you. People, family who I care about, who I love. I want to hook them up. I gotta take care of them. So the pros and cons for everything. That's
Yep.
life. Um, pros and cons fighting out of the country. You gotta travel. I gotta bring all my food. I gotta make sure my diet stays on point. My workouts stay on point. I make sure I don't freaking try not to balloon up too much on the airplane, that sort of stuff. But the pros to it, you get to travel, you get to see the world, you get to go see Dublin. How many times can I say that in my life? I've been to Dublin once before, so it's nice to go to Dublin again. Um, Dublin was nice enough. I put on my list. I was like, "Ooh, Dublin's pretty nice. I like it." I'm gonna have to bring the family back out here later on. Not everywhere do I visit. Do I put on my list to bring the family back out later on? Dublin was nice enough. The people are amazing. I was like, oh, I have to bring the family back out here later on in life, and here we are later on. So I'm bringing out the whole family. All six of us are coming out. All four kids, my wife. We're gonna make a trip of it. So I'm very excited to come to Dublin, Ireland once again and put on a show, give the Irish fans a better show. My last show against Miles Jury, I thought was a little lackluster. I thought I wanted to give a better show, and I promised Irish fans that night after I got my hand raised, like, hey, I'm sorry guys, that wasn't as much as I wanted to give you guys. I promise I'll come out here again if I get a chance to to fight here in Ireland, I'm gonna say yes to fight in Ireland again, and I'll come back out here and I'll give you guys a better show. What better chance? What better stage? How else can you set that up better than going against one of their own, Peter Queally? And I'm gonna go give the Irish fans a show.
Okay, now see, that's what I was going to ask you about, Benson, because look, I don't know if you're an MMA fan, if it's possible to boo Benson Henderson, right? I mean, that's just not right. But it's the hometown guy, right? So they got to support their guy. So what are you like? Is there any party that's like kind of hoping to get booed a little bit and feel like being the villain, or are you kind of hoping like, man, I hope they're not mean to me, even though I'm visiting from out of town?
I have been booed at some of my past fights, believe it or not. I have entered the cage to booze, but after the fight was done, after I got my hand raised, I left the cage with the crowd cheering, going crazy. That's what's going to happen September 23rd against Peter Queally. The crowd will be booing me as I walk into the cage. No problem. That's no worries. That is A-okay. You guys have a right to that. But when I leave that cage after the performance I put on, after I open up my heart and soul, let a little bit of his light shine out, I can almost promise you that the Irish fans are me cheering their heads off crazy, me leaving that cage.
I love it, man. They're a fun bunch, so they'll definitely cheer you. I know that, even if they do boo you on the way in. Hey, last thing, I did want to ask you, Benson, with your wife fighting professionally now, the roles are reversed, man. I guess I just wanted to know what that's like for you. I mean, it's such a weird thing, right? Like, you have no problem getting into a cage, no problem going in there and doing it. But, man, when it's somebody you love getting in there doing it, and now you're getting to see what she's been feeling for all these years. How challenging or eye-opening has that been for you?
Oh, yeah, for sure. It's definitely I never really thought about it, but then after her first fight, her first amateur debut, she's like, "Oh, see," now, like she asked me after the fight, what does it feel like for you? Like, you see what I feel now? I was like, "Oh, I do see what you feel like now." Yeah, that is different. That's takes a little getting used to there. Definitely a lot of different emotions. A lot of different mixed emotions with all my teammates, all my little brothers. I love being in their corner and helping them. But you're always more nervous for your teammates than you are for yourself. You can't control that. You can't control what's going to happen. You don't know what's going to happen. When it's you in there, I can control that. I can control, this is my cage. I can control this. I know what's going to happen. I'm going to leave this cage with my hand raised. But when you don't have that control and it's one of your little brothers in there, when it's my wife in there, like, I don't have that control. It's like, oh no, what's going to happen? So definitely, for sure, a lot different, way more nerve-wracking, way more emotional, watching my wife fight, cornering my wife.
It's got to be the weirdest reality of the sport, Benson. I mean, you think a cage fight, man, you think that's where your nerves would be the highest, but it's not. It's like you said, it's when somebody you love is in there that you can't do anything to protect them, that you can't do anything to affect the outcome. That's when your nerves are the highest. It's the weirdest reality about this sport, I think.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Awesome, man. Well, listen, continued success to both in your careers. Obviously, this is another big moment for you in a career full of big moments. I guess what's the plan here, man? Is it, big win and book something again before the end of the year? Is it take some vacation off? I mean, are we talking about rank? I mean, you're still right up there at the top of the rankings. Are we talking about title shots and positions and all that? What's the plan, Benson?
For me, is about
all right, you may think, John, that was kind of a weird place for the interview to end. Well, Benson's phone cut out, so what are you gonna do?
What are you gonna do?
But he'll I thought I'd bring it to you. And from all intents and purposes, from what I understand, he's kind of fighting out this contract, and then we'll
quite a bit. Still got more to go.
A few fights left, and then
we'll be. I think this is four. This is the fourth one, and he's got three after this one. I think so.
3 or 2? I can't remember. Is it 3?
I think it's 3 after this.
Okay.
Because I think when I was looking at this interview on that old site, MMA Junkie, from the Bellator media stuff today, I thought he was saying
4 left.
Because he was talking about the pressure that this puts, and he's like, if I had the pressure because now I have 4, but after this is going to be pressure on 3. So I think he still has 3.
Okay. I thought he had 3 left, so that's good. It's a lot of fights left, but I mean, listen, the man still got the fire, and then he wants to focus on his wife's career. So big one there. I wrote an article based on this interview for Sports Illustrated. It's going to publish tomorrow, but in that article, I kind of pointed out that look, Benson is a legend. There's no question about it. Will this, a win here, will it kind of push one last run to the title in those last few fights? I don't think so, even though he's high in the rankings. I believe number 3 in the rankings right now. But you've got Usman Nurmagomedov, who's going to fight next. You've got Tawfiq Musayev, who's coming in there, who's an absolute killer as well. So I just don't see Benson mixing it up with those guys, but still a big fight nonetheless. And I think it's cool that he's willing to go, to Ireland to fight in Peter Quilley's backyard and say, I want to right the wrong of what happened last time out. So good there. Yoel Romero versus Melvin Manhoff. Yoel Romero, a massive favorite in this fight, understandably so. But hey, Melvin, you just never know. Melvin packs a punch. Liam McCourt, Diana Silva, Mads Burnell versus Pedro Corvallo. That's a kind of an underrated fight there. Mads Burnell, kind of a name that does get overlooked a little bit as well. And Ciaran Clark and Raphael Hudson will make up your main card there. Prelims have a little bit more of a local flavor, although you do see Brett Johns on there, so certainly a name that you'll recognize. Carl Albrechtsen is on there, so there's a couple names definitely worth watching. And Georgie Karakhanyan.
I was going to say Georgie Karakhanyan.
I mean, Kay Musa. So I mean, that's a fun fight as well. So look. Friday day card. I mean, not for our European folks, but I'm sure the European folks aren't complaining about a fight that's in normal time for them, and they're not having to stay up till 4 in the morning.
Yep.
I think this is a card worth checking out this weekend for sure. So I'm excited about it. I'm excited to watch it. And then I'm still trying to figure out next week. We've got the October 1st cards, UFC and Bellator at the same time on October 1st. And it's close enough that I have the choice I can either stay here in Las Vegas or go to Long Beach, California. Now, I will say my wife grew up on the beach in Mexico, and any chance she gets to go see water she likes, so that might be playing into my decision-making process as well. But I will say, look at that Bellator card for next week, Bellator 286. Patricio Pitbull, Adam Borgs, Spike Carlisle, AJ McKee, Jeremy Kennedy, Aaron Pico, Juan Archuleta, Enrique Barzola. Max Roshkov is on there against Mike Hamill, which I'm looking forward to that fight as well. I mean, look, there's some good fights on here. So I think that's a pretty solid card next week.
Yeah. I know you love California. They know how to party in the city. Know how to party.
Long Beach, Inglewood. I mean, look, you got to get out a little bit, man. We get a lot of shows at the Apex. We got a lot coming up this fall as well. Which
I know. I saw the October travel, and I saw Long Beach. I was like, oh, okay, that's not me. I say Abu Dhabi. I'm like, cool. Glad I'm not there. But Vegas, Kenny.
Oh yeah.
I'm Vegas resident.
Vegas Kenny.
That's my life.
Cold coffee. Vegas Kenny. All right, listen. If you're looking for some things, now listen. I am talking about enjoying the the non-on-site coverage and a little bit of a kind of a relaxed weekend for us, but that's not. I mean, there is some other MMA going on this weekend.
Do tell.
If Fight TV might be the spot to check out this weekend. If you've never downloaded or watch anything. So I have Fight on my Apple TV now, and it works actually really, really smooth. So BKFC is there. They've got
under the same thing.
Yeah, so I've got like the Fight TV app now on my Apple TV, and it's just like obviously there's so many apps and streaming services. It's not. I'm just.
It sounds like a read.
Don't check the bank account, Kenny. No, I'm just.
It sounds like a read.
No, it's not. But look, they're in a very unique position, right? Check this out. The unique position that they're in this week is that they've got Ryzen, which they don't normally carry Ryzen, and Ryzen was, because of the pandemic, they kind of tailed off a little bit because they couldn't bring anybody in and out, so they were using domestic talent only. Now they're bringing international talent in, but this weekend they've got Floyd Mayweather on a little boxing exhibition versus Mikura Asakura.
Today out of the blue. I was like, how did I not know this was happening? Granted, I don't pay attention a lot to boxing, but I saw that and I was like, Floyd going to Floyd.
So here's my understanding. So basically what's going on, if you don't pay attention, I get it, this is kind of fringe, and like I said, Ryzen has kind of dropped off a little bit, but they're coming back. They're bringing the talent back. but they've got Super Ryzen and then Ryzen 38, I believe, is the number this weekend. So it looks like it's 2 cards, but it's essentially just back-to-back events. And obviously, Floyd Mayweather is a big enough name that you kind of just sell that on his own. So I believe there's 3, maybe 4 bouts on that one. It's $30. It starts at 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Eastern on Saturday night. So basically what they're doing is they're starting with this in Japan and finishing with the other card, so that since they start with it in Japan, it's early enough that it still could catch an American audience. So it's $30. It's a boxing exhibition.
Do you want to pay $30 to watch Floyd spar?
I don't know. That's the question right now. That's what.
And it just depends on what Floyd shows up. There's the Floyd that's like, oh hey man, it doesn't matter. The guy can win every round if he wants, whatever. And then there's a Floyd that says that, but then goes out and starches the kid.
Now let's remember, it's a Saturday night with no UFC.
True.
It's a Saturday night with no Bellator. I don't believe there's a major boxing event because obviously there was a major boxing event last weekend. I could be wrong in that. I don't follow the boxing schedule quite as closely. But you're right. On a normal Saturday night, given what our normal Saturday nights look like, am I going to pay $30 to watch Floyd Mayweather spar? Because it's called an exhibition boxing match, but you are exactly right.
There's no winners.
You are going to watch Floyd Mayweather spar. There's nobody winning. Actually, the only person winning is Floyd Mayweather and his bank account. Yeah, because he's getting paid for it.
Undefeated. He's undefeated. That bank account is undefeated.
I don't know if you've watched his social media this week, but he's just walking around Tokyo, just laying out the yen. And Floyd, he doesn't do credit cards. He doesn't debit card. Everything's cash, right? So everything is, he's in the Versace store just like counting. And when you talk about counting yen, you're talking about like 10,000.
But I mean, granted, I know they do make bigger denominated bills. I never had those bills.
No.
I would be the guy. Here's my change.
My money did jingle.
Yes,
it didn't fold. You know what I mean?
As long as it was enough to buy the beer and the chicken at the 7-Eleven.
Right? You're like, wait a minute. I can buy beer with this coin in my pocket right now. Like, I like this place.
Wow. But it's funny, And when you put it like that, when you're talking about, there's no other major events, I tell you what, I love working in combat sports. I love watching all this stuff. But if it's in a weekend off, I don't race to find some sort of combat sports to watch. I'm like, if anything else, catch up on like Netflix or just, heaven forbid, not look at a TV screen.
What?
on
you
that
can't
day.
do that.
And what's crazy now is like every Saturday is my college football is like ruined because of fighting. Now I can watch like college ball all day long or something and not have to worry about anything.
All right, well,
that's what I'll be doing on Saturday.
Let me see if I can sweeten the pot for you a little bit.
No.
Let me see if I can sweeten the pot for you a little bit. All right,
fly me to Tokyo and that will sweeten the pot.
What if I told you that Jizzy Mack was also boxing on the same card?
Who?
Floyd Mayweather's bodyguard.
Oh my God.
I'm more inclined to watch you now. Have I sold you now?
Which one of the two is it?
I mean, it's Jizzy Mack. I don't know which one.
I'd have to look to see. Is he the bigger of the two?
I don't remember which. I don't know his bodyguards enough to know which is which.
That's funny.
But he's on the card. Now, I don't know if it's boxing. I'll be honest with you. It's a standing bout, so I don't know if that just means boxing or if it means they can kickbox a little bit as well.
What if it was Floyd and that dude in a boxing in a phone booth like you've seen some of that shit lately with that phone?
Crazy.
It's so ridiculous.
That stuff is absolutely wild.
I would pay to watch that. I would pay to watch Floyd in a phone booth boxing because, like, all right, where's that head movement now? Where's that head movement now?
Yeah. He would not be agreeing to that, I can assure you. By the way, at Ryzen 38, Kyoji Horiguchi is in the main event. Of course, that will be very, very late at night, both East and West Coast. So that'll be
legit.
Yeah, that'll be a little tough one. So, all right. But, okay. So there's that. So look, the non-paid read for Fight TV, which we'll send this to them and let them know, hey, maybe if you just want to throw us a little something. They got a little something on Sunday as well. Now, let's say you're hanging out on Sunday, and you maybe you caught the Mayweather on Saturday night. I might be doing that. But on Sunday, maybe you want to catch the boxing debut of Cris Cyborg. Now,
I wouldn't mind seeing that.
10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern on Sunday. So
I would be up.
A little coffee, and $13.99.
That's better.
$13.99.
What's that on?
That's on Fight TV as well.
Okay.
Acelino Freitas and
that's on Roku.
the legend Jose Landy Johns is in there as well. Listen, let me throw you a couple other names that are on here. I don't. The last thing I see, I don't know if it changed. No, he's still on it. Vanderlei Silva's son, Thor Silva, is on there. Former UFC veterans William Macahio, Milton Vieira, Felipe Arantes are on there as well. Luis Santiago. So there's some UFC veterans on there. Vanderlei Silva's son is on there, and you got the boxing debut of Cris Cyborg in the main event against Simone de Silva, who Simone de Silva, I believe her career record in boxing, I want to say if I remember right, is 19-23.
Okay, that sounds legit.
But it's a 40-time veteran. Did challenge for a national title like 4 times.
Sure, yeah, I buy into that.
Okay, you're not. Okay.
Here, take my wallet. Take my money
listen,
right now.
I don't know if anybody else picked up on this, but I am a professional reporter, and I pick up on the subtleties. And I hinted just a touch of sarcasm.
No, that was 100% sincerity.
Just a touch.
I am interested to see how Cyborg does.
It is pretty cool. I am interested to see Cyborg as well. It is, if you want a little added flavor to it, it is in Curitiba, and it is actually
that's Cyborg's home.
That's Cyborg's hometown, and it is in the exact same arena, that stadium where she had her UFC debut there.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So there's some, there's some cool, stuff going on. So if you
Curitiba was awesome. I remember it
was
was like I think, I don't know, maybe it was just the time of the year. I remember it wasn't like crazy hot. I remember it felt really good there. I remember we found a couple good like little steakhouse places. I remember Fernando was still around us.
Right.
And Fernando was like, no, that's not great. Let me take you to another one. I could eat that every day.
Oh.
I would not be losing weight, but I would eat that every day.
Churrascaria is not on the fight camp diet.
No, it is not.
But post-fight.
You know what's funny? When I had a friend recently that had came to visit, and I'm normally, I'm now trying to eat smaller portions and eat. But I remember we went to an all-you-can-eat place, and I remember I was just starting to there was glimpses of the old me come in ordering some other thing. I was throwing down. And I remember they were like, "You gonna eat all that?" I was like, "Oh yeah, it'll be good." And I was like, "I probably shouldn't," but I was like, "Am I freaking this person out because they've never seen me throw down before? They don't know." I'm like, you should have seen when I did some work.
I think back in the day when we used to go to Brazil, go to churrascarias, the waiters would eventually come up to us at one point and be like, you've got to stop eating, and you over here, you've got to stop drinking. You guys, no. I mean, if you want to switch the other way,
we balance out.
If you want to drink some more beers, fine. If you want to eat some more steak, fine. But you guys and your specialties, you got to stop. You got to stop.
It hurts to be a specialist, but when you're really good in one particular thing, you just got to go with it.
All right. Speaking of fight camp, I think we got a date locked down, right? It's looking that way, November 19th or 20th for the
Hot T's opponent. It's funny. There was a small class yesterday. And it's so funny. I broke my pinky toe on my left foot last time I rolled a couple weeks back, and I jacked up my toes yesterday. I think being old and doing this sport is not the smartest deal, but so I rolled with Oscar and I rolled with his competitor yesterday, and his guy's good. His guy's been doing a lot of work off the side. He seems a lot better than when he was. You could tell. And it's so crazy.
Is the matchup already official, or it's just it's official?
It's definitely going to happen.
Okay.
And what's crazy, and you'll get a trip out of this. So the guy was he was rolling with another guy. Me and Oscar had rolled, and it was one of those points where I was probably trying to gather my breath. And so there were times when both groups could sort of watch what the others are doing. And Justin James, the UFC fighter, is one of the coaches, was watching, and so we're coaching. His guy that he's rolling with put him into a choke, and it was deep, and the kid wasn't tapping, which is dude, he's got gills somewhere. At the very end, after the class is over and done, everybody's saying their goodbyes, I heard him talking with the guy that he was rolling. He's like, dude, I still can't believe you didn't tap. He's like, dude, I just picture my father. I picture my family, and I don't allow myself to tap. He's like, I just picture my family, and that's where I go.
Practice.
I know. He's like, that's where I go in my head. And he's like, that's why I don't tap. I just picture. I was like, well, if you start dreaming that you're having a conversation and you smell barbecue, you're asleep already. But no,
Hot T, it's not too late to get out of this. You're facing the psycho clearly.
Yeah. But no, out of all the fights that are potentially built up, the real big guy that fucked my arm up, his opponent, that'll be a good one. But Oscar's fight with his opponent is looking to be the most competitive, the one I'm probably the most excited for.
Wow.
Just even in terms of not just.
So it'll be like do you think it'll be like the main event of the, or were y'all even? I don't even know how that's going to work, to be honest with you.
Well, you know, the way that some of the people have just sort of dropped out of class and then just sporadically come. I would think that this is the one that they're like, okay, this for sure is happening.
Right.
So if there's one that if everybody else just flakes the fuck out,
so that may be the only
Oscar,
fight.
No, I think there's going to probably be maybe 2 to 3.
Yeah.
There's supposed to be at least 3 to 4,
right.
something like that. But Oscar and this kid are not going to flake.
Right.
The other guy that I saw, his opponent might flake. But this guy's supposed to go. Bo, and then this other guy, Richie, who I'm hearing is training elsewhere, that could still sort of drop off. But Oscar's fighting the other, for sure is going to happen. But Oscar, I know, he's starting to feel it, like, because the kid's catching up.
Right.
You know, Oscar had a lot of experience going into it, so he was definitely a step above some of the other guys. This kid's got youth. He's got size. He's tall. He's lanky. He's got real long arms. But Oscar's still got more man strength in him, so he needs to come at him hard, hit him quick. But the kid doesn't he doesn't tap.
He starts thinking of his family,
He starts thinking
bro.
of his family, and he's willing to die. I'm like, oh my God.
It's practice,
I
dog.
know. Dude, but when he said that, I was like, I can't remember if I told Oscar that. I don't think I did. Well, if Oscar listens to this, or I'll tell him later. Yeah, Jeremiah's he's ready to die out there, but it's going to be good. But no, Oscar's fights. But Oscar, he took that as motivation afterwards before we went to
the bar.
No, I went to the bar. Oscar did. Before we went to Contenders yesterday, because he trained in the morning, Oscar went to another class afterwards. He's doing the work, man. So I mean, like, I'm giving him all the props. I mean, he looks good too. I mean, he's getting fit. He says he hasn't dropped much weight. He's just, I could feel like he's becoming,
putting some more
he's
muscle
compacting
on
a little bit and stuff. But he's got a tough test ahead of him. But that's why, you know, even when I was going there with the guys, I just try to be heavy. Because they're not going to fight a dude that's 100 pounds bigger than them.
Right.
I'm like, just if you could toss me around, if you can move around, if you can move this big weight, it's going to do well. But, yeah, dude, it's legit, man. I'm excited to see how that fight happens. It's going to be good, man. And if you call it, that would be a fucking
hopefully I will.
trip.
We're trying to work on all that now, so hopefully I'll be calling the fight, which would be fun as well. I mean, what'll be weird, it'll be nerve-wracking for me. You know, I called Richard Hunter's fight, and I was nervous as all hell for that, so – I called Dan Tom's fight years and years ago before I knew Dan, so that's a little bit different scenario because I didn't really know him at that point. But so it would be fun to call. Can I ask you, even though it doesn't involve anybody related to the show, did you say there's another matchup where a guy is going and getting work elsewhere ahead of this? Like, is that in the spirit of the program?
Well, I don't know if it's because he didn't want to train and have the other guy see his stuff because people are paying attention to it and other stuff. That's why I was wondering, too. I was like, is he still paying for it? Why would you pay for it and not show up to the class or whatever? Because I know that they were giving grief about another guy that was going to potentially fight somebody outside of the program where I was like, dude, let him get a fight. You want him to get a fight. But I think – plus I think the guy's schedule maybe was having some issues or something. But, I mean – the guy came in, he had lots of, like, boxing training. Like, this guy had legit good hands. And it's funny because he's a big dude, but he moves really, really quickly. He's just overweight, but he's strong. But, man, he probably gave me the hardest punch out of any of the guys there in the class. He caught me with a nice little combo that I remember I was just like, yeah, because he got me good on my the side of my head. But, you know, I got that strong head.
Whoa.
I wasn't ready to go down. Wow, that sounded gay as fuck. But no, that's good. That's a good fight. But I mean, the guy he's going up against is that young guy that used to play college football, who's just like, he's a beast of a dude. So the other guy, the boxer, is giving up a good, probably foot in height, but in terms of like boxing, he's got better hands. But he's just got to watch if the guy takes him down, because then you got that big giant 300 and some pound behemoth who's getting really good on just being able to sort of muscle out submissions and stuff. So
that's crazy.
But
I think it's the 19th and 20th, if I remember right. I believe because I think we're doing a CFFC the night before on the 18th, and I believe that's the 19th and 20th is when that's supposed to happen. So we'll keep everybody updated. Maybe if anybody's in the Vegas area. I mean, it's still look, it is. I mean, they still got time to do a full training camp at this point, right? I mean, that's still almost 2 months away. So we'll definitely be there. Hopefully, I'll be on the call for that because that'll be a whole nother level. Maybe is that a non-UFC? If that's a non-UFC weekend, maybe we just do an and a half with Hot T about the post-fight wrap-up of his fight card and all the matchups that night, man. That might be a fun thing to do. So, no and a half this week. Wow, I don't think I've ever said it. No and a half this week. Of course, we appreciate everybody that wants to support us. Patreon.com/the MMA Roadshow. My man Cole Coffee handles all the community involvement over there, so we certainly do appreciate that. And of course, even if you can't take to that level, it's just $3 a month. I mean, what are we talking about between a couple of friends? $3 a month. But if you can't take to that, we totally understand. At least you can just do us a favor and rate us, review us, leave us some feedback on wherever you're listening. We certainly do appreciate that because, man, we've been doing this for a long time and we still have as much fun getting together, especially when it's early in the afternoon. The weather is cooling down. October is coming in. I've decided October is my favorite month of the year in Las Vegas. Yes, April is cool. If you're ever coming to Vegas, April, October, I'll say it a million times, but October is my favorite month because that's when the heat finally tails off. We cool off a little bit, start drinking a couple frosty beverages outdoors, fire up the grill.
Start.
Yeah, you know. Yeah, you know me, man. I wait until October to start having some frosty beverages. What am I talking about? All right, I'm going to enjoy the weekend, making some family plans. Hopefully all you guys will do the same. Again, there is Bellator on Friday afternoon. I'm telling you, if you want to watch a little Floyd Mayweather sparring, watch a little Cris Cyborg doing a little boxing well, you can enjoy all that. I think I might tune in. But enjoy it all. We'll get together next week, of course. We'll get back to normal. Busy week once again. In the meantime, thanks for listening.